Good evening, guys. I'm Chris, and welcome back to another episode of Rift Amps. Weather update. That's right, you guessed it. It's raining. It's almost June, and it's still raining. I don't know what to say anymore. Where is the nice weather? Just finished off the very, very last 69 Fuzz. That's the last of it. That's the last of the enclosures, the last of the components, the last of the bits and pieces. I'm not doing any more of these now, so that limited run is done. Done quite a nice job. I did find some nice Jupiter and all cap capacitors for this, so I've got that sorted. Sounds great. This one's for Nick. Thank you so much for your business, Nick. He's ordered quite a few bits from me over the years, so I've done him a nice special one. But that's it, all done. Just got to box it up, ship it out, and then I'm going to start thinking about my next limited run pedal. Right, Q&A then. Wednesday Q&A. I really enjoy doing these. So for those who haven't watched this before, the videos that come out on a Sunday are my update videos, as you were, what I've been getting up to during the week. Just to keep everyone, show what I've been getting up to. And a lot of you tune in and a lot of you enjoy it, so thank you very much. The Wednesday video that I put out is more of a bit more relaxed version of that. We do a bit of a Q&A now, so, I answer the questions that people have commented or emailed in, and I get a lot of those now, so thank you. And we also, just have a look around, and it's a little bit more behind the scenesy than the Sunday video. Not quite. There's still updates in there, but yeah, that's kind of what we do. So I am currently working on this black panel PR18 for Darren, and in the last update video, I showed you that I'd done the board. So I cut my FR4 material to size, I drill it, I put the eyelets in and swage them into place, and then populate the board with all the components. So the next job for the board would be to do all my underboard connections, my overboard connections, and my flying leads. So that's the next stage on the board. But in the meantime, I have been working on the chassis, wiring things in and bits and pieces, and I've done my half power switch now, which you can just see here, and I've done the heater wiring that goes underneath it. As you know, I've worked out a better way to do that, so that's now standard on these. So we get those done, and I'm just starting to do as much chassis wiring as I can. Haven't got the pots in yet, but I do as much chassis wiring as I can, and then once I finish the board, I can lower the board in and start making the rest of the connections. So that's where I am. But whilst I'm doing that, I figured we'd answer some questions about, just any of the questions that you've sent in and asked. So the first one was about the train wreck build that I'm doing for a bit of fun. And people wanted to know, I did say if people were interested, they could get in touch and we can discuss it. And of course, what I didn't do and what I should have done was mention the cost. We're going to do it in a head format only, so it's not going to be a combo, which will help with the cost. And if we do it in a plexi style cabinet, like a JTM 45 style cabinet, probably in black Tolex, something like that, with a nice set of face plates on it, it will be, the UK price will be around the £2,000 mark, and that includes VAT. Obviously, if you're not in the UK, you won't pay UK VAT, but you may be charged import fees, taxes and stuff when you import the amplifier into your country. But it's going to be around the £2,000 mark. If you wanted it in a cabinet that's got my Rift logo, the sunken logo that I do, that's a bit more money, around £100 more cost, more money on that. So do bear that in mind. But if you are interested, get in touch. We can certainly do a deal on it. transformers on it. I'm going to get Modulus to wind some special transformers for it, so it's going to be a really nice build. I have made a little bit more progress on the chassis and marking out and working where things go. So yeah, not far off on that one. I'm really looking forward to firing it up and seeing how it sounds. The only thing is those amps like to be played loud, so don't expect a bedroom amp. Alright, so if you're interested in that Trainwreck Express build, obviously we can't call it a Trainwreck Express if it's got my name on it, commercial thing, so we'll come up with something, Rift Wreck or something, I don't know, who cares, we'll come up with something cool. But yeah, that's available if someone's interested. It's sunny. Had an email, no I didn't, it was a comment actually. It was a comment on Facebook. Not on my Facebook page, but on one of the groups that I'm in, about the rising cost of amplifiers. And across every manufacturer, the cost of amplifiers has gone up. And whereas an amplifier that would have been £1,500 10 years ago is now £3,000 or whatever it is. And that's the same from the volume manufacturers like Fender and Marshall and Vox and Victory and all those brands like that, to the boutique brands as well. So if we take the last 4 years, and I may have talked about this before, my costs in running this business and my material costs of buying everything in that I need to build an amplifier, cabinets, chassis, fuse holders, wire, valves, all of it, roughly my everything's got more expensive, is what I'm trying to say. So my prices on average over the last 4 years have gone up by around 25-30% across the board. In what that's the price that you pay. They've gone up 25 to 30%. But my margin, the amount of profit I make as a percentage, has dropped by 8%. I think it's at 8.5, 8.6%. So even though I'm charging more money for the amplifiers, I actually take home, as a percentage, less money. So it's difficult. I can't swallow all of that increase, but nor do I think it's, my business just wouldn't survive if I charged what everyone else does, or charged, what I could for it. It's really tricky. So, we always try and keep our prices down as low as we can, but sometimes it's just really, it is difficult. And I, like this place is, around £1,000 a month to turn the lights on, unlock the door, turn the lights on, get the water running, get the electrics on, all of that cost me about just under £1,000 a month. I need to earn enough just to cover my living costs, and I've got to pay all my suppliers, make sure I've got enough in the bank to order bits and pieces, pay the bills on time. So it is tricky. And someone was saying, even for a home kit builder, and I know it's worse in the States now than it is over here. For a guy who wants to build his own clone at home in America, even if you're excluding labour, you're talking boutique amp money now. It's crazy just how expensive it is. So it's just tough. It really is. It's tough. Constantly trying to work out what's the least amount of money I can charge for an amplifier while still making enough to cover the bills and earn a living. So, do support us. We are struggling. Right, Blonde Bassman. This is Josh's amp, as you remember. The reverb unit is now all done. This one, I had given it a service and it sounded great. I gave it a good old long soak test, all was good, buttoned it back up into the cabinet. Thought I'd give it. It then had a couple of days rest. I thought I'd give it a quick play test just to make sure everything was okay, and it started making some popping noises. So back on the test bench, got this thing screaming hot, and got the free spray out and the 2 anode resistors for the phase inverter, the 100k and the 82k. Both surprisingly noisy when hot, but all good when cold. Not entirely sure why that didn't show up in the previous soak tests, but it's doing it now. So I've swapped those out with new old stock Allen Bradleys, and I've gone through and just checked a couple of solder joints and bits and pieces. Now it's now running on the bench, putting out 13.2 volts into 4 ohms, which is around, I'll zoom you in. Well, 13 volts into 4 ohms is 42 watts. So yeah, we're about bang on where we want to be. So I'm going to keep that going for another hour or so. And if it doesn't play up second time round, we can call it good. Oh, you can tell it's hay fever season. I'm really starting to come down with hay fever. It's normally the first 2 weeks in June that I suffer. But yeah, I can just feel it starting now. So I apologise if I'm a bit nasal. Question I had was about signal tracing. Do you remember the 5E3 that came in? And the diagnostic process that I decided to use was to inject a signal into the front end and using the oscilloscope, trace it through until I found the point in the circuit where the signals appeared, and that obviously was where I needed to further diagnose, and it ended up being the output transformer. The question was, why did I choose that method when there seemingly are other ways to diagnose a faulty output transformer? Well, yes, there are. There are many different ways to do it, different processes, different procedures. I chose to do the signal tracing method because it quickly identifies where in the amplifier the signal dropout is. Now, I was only able to do that because the amplifier still turned on and it wasn't blowing fuses. If it was, then you've got to do something else. But because the amplifier turned on, it wasn't blowing fuses. There was nothing. There's no smoke. There was nothing looking burnt. Nothing that gave me any indication that I wasn't able to inject a signal and trace that through. Meant that I could do that. And it was more of a demonstration for you guys, actually, to show that it's really quick and simple, and that if you understand where in a circuit you're going to find your signal, and you're quick at identifying that and quick at following it through, it's a very speedy process. And it didn't take me long at all to find out that the signal was going into the output valves, was coming out of the output valves as well, but looked terrible, looked awful. And that then pointed to either one of two things. It's either going to be the output valves. Now, what's the chance of both of them being weird? Quite low. One, maybe. So if one sine wave was good on one side, but on the other it was bad, we might be looking at a valve. But because it was on both sides, it makes me think output transformer, and then I was able to confirm that by subbing in a replacement. All right. So if you've got your starting point, and this is a great analogy, and you've got your end point up here, you've probably got 5 or 6 different routes you can take to get to that same conclusion, that same diagnostic decision. And signal tracing is a very quick and easy method, if you've got the equipment, of course, to do that. If I didn't have that, there's other tests and things we could have done. And of course, do you remember I also limited myself by saying I couldn't use a voltmeter, so I couldn't measure any voltages. I had to do it all with the oscilloscope. I could use an ohm meter for measuring resistances and things, but no voltages. But anyway, as you saw, the diagnostic process worked, came out great, and the customer's very happy with it. So that's just, it's just one of many methods you can use, and it's one of my preferred ones, actually. If I get an amp that switches on, and for all intents and purposes is working, just there's no output, It's a very easy way to find out where the issue in the circuit is. Back onto the train wreck, the 1K 25 watt resistor. I actually ordered some because I couldn't find any in my stash, only to then find some elsewhere stored in another drawer. So I've now got 10 of these. Yeah, right. So on our layout, the resistor, this resistor here, is going to sit roughly south of our rectification diodes, next to one of the EL34 sockets. So it actually sits between B+1 and B+2. So it's a screen dropper. But because it's such a large resistor, it needs to be 25 watts because of the amount of current that runs through this when the output valves are overdriving. It needs to be a large value resistor that not only is attached to the chassis but is heat sinked with a heat paste too. So do you remember we're rough lining up with our mirror image board? So it's going to go here, but obviously it's going to mount on the inside. So I've had to do some clever mirror imaging to get the whole spacing right there and there. So it's going to sit like that, and that gives me all the spacing I want for everything else. Transformers, as I said, Modulus is going to wind some for us. Can't wait for those. He's given me the sizes so I can roughly mock out where on the chassis they're going to be, and I can carry on from there. But yeah, we are making some progress on the train wreck. I wanted to talk about people ringing up and asking me for advice, which 99% of the time I'm more than happy to do. You know, you're building an amp at home, you've got an amp that's not working right, and you want to know, what I would do to try and fix it or something like that. Always happy to help. Now, I do get a lot of phone calls asking for help and advice, and it does take up a lot of my day. So sometimes if I'm in the middle of something and my phone keeps ringing, I just can't answer it. I'm not being rude, but if I spend all day on the phone to people talking about other people's amplifiers, I get no work done. And I need to prioritize the work that I'm being paid for. So there is that. But I had a really funny incident last week where, bit of backstory on this. There is someone on Facebook who, ever since I started Rift back in 2013, has just never liked me or the business. Just doesn't like the cut of my jib, really. And on Facebook, on various online forums, he's always, saying things that, and he's not a troll either. He is a real person. He's just, a real, genuine, amp enthusiast, guitar player who just hasn't got a nice word to say. Not just about me, actually, to be fair. He does like to slag off a lot of other people. And so I've always taken what he said, kind of with a pinch of salt and ignored it. But sometimes it's like, you've got to learn to ignore people online, haven't you? That's just a standard thing. But last week, he he actually rang me up for advice on one of his amplifiers that wasn't working right and wanted help fixing. And I thought to myself, I know who you are. I know all the things you've said about me and my business over the years. Why should I help you? Why? I'm not obliged to. You've never bought anything from me before. You've never even you haven't even apologized, or he didn't even try to apologize for anything he said. He just wanted help with his amplifier. Was I in my right, and I want your advice on this, to say to him, I'll happily help, but I'm charging you for my time? You know, if you want me to talk you through this on the phone, you're going to have to pay for my help, because I know who you are. I know what you've said about me, and I'm not prepared to give you my advice for free. And that's what I said to him, and he declined. But do you think I was in the right there, or was I in the wrong? I know where I stand on it, but you might think differently. So please, if you think I should have helped him for free, let me know. But if you think no, I had a right to ask for money, especially given the history, was that the right thing to do? So there we go. But to be honest with you, I don't think he'll be calling again, but I guarantee he'll continue to say quite childish things on the internet. Well, that's it then, guys. Another episode over. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please give this video a thumbs up, comments down below, join the channel like these guys have. And, oh, I know, I did say I'd give you an update on my race at Alton Park. Well, for those that haven't looked up the results already, I did bring home P1. Did it again. 2 races on the trot. Got that P1 finish. Now, when you race with the BRSCC, not only do you get the winner's trophy, you get the winner's hat as well. So it couldn't have gone any better. I didn't have anywhere near the sort of winning margin that I had the previous week at Silverstone, which was 38 seconds. In fact, completely the opposite. It was just 0.2 seconds at the line. And I'll put in some footage now. So yeah, really, really close. For the whole 45-minute race, I just could not shake that orange Puma. He was just, we were just as fast as each other. It's just that I had track position. And going into the final lap, I had him covered all the way round. Final corner, I then messed it up, and he got close, and he got the run on me. And thankfully, the line comes up quite close at Alton Park. Comes up quite soon, actually, sorry. So I just held on for the win, 0.2 seconds. So yeah, couldn't be happier. What a May it's been. So win at Silverstone, win and pole position at Silverstone, win and pole position at Alton Park. So I'm not out again racing until the end of June at Snetterton, which is over in Norfolk, about 2.5 hours from here. Haven't been there, didn't race there last year. So, I've got some catching up to do. The car's got a lot of work that I need to get done. The main thing is the old boot and the spoiler has come off. That's the old boot down there. I've got a standard boot lid but no spoiler. It's an open top car, so you don't really need a spoiler. And we think actually it's adding more drag than it is downforce. So we're going to try running the car without the rear spoiler. The front suspension has gone off for service because they've never been done. So they've gone back to the manufacturer for an overhaul, and just got some other little bits and pieces to do. Need new front brake pads, bits and pieces, but nothing exciting really. But yeah, but there you go. So racing's going well. Thank you so much to everyone who asked about that. It keeps me out of trouble. So yeah, I've got to keep doing it. Right, I shall catch you all at the next one.